You can wake up and intend to be a better person, but what have you done to be a better person?
I shouldn't be giving advice to anybody.
And that's exactly right, Brennan. You have no business telling anyone how to have a relationship. What you really need to do is make a U-turn and go back to your emasculated self, that self that is being humiliated by Alexa and your father-in-law. Channel that anger, figure out where it's coming from instead of taking it out on Cole. And I'm also not buying this thing that Brennan is a feminist and he's upset because he can't bear to see a man do this to a woman. Because if that were true, you'd be upset at Bartiz, your friend, who you have no problem hanging around with, even though you can clearly see that he's stringing poor Nancy along. You yourself said at that gathering of the boys.
Lunch yesterday with Nancy, I'm like, damn, I see why I fell in love with this girl. Like,
You still have feelings for her?
no, I don't have any romantic feelings for her.
Did you
and
tell her that?
No, I mean, I think she's known that. I think
Well,
I never
thinking she knows that,
I mean, I told
telling her that's two different things.
I
though.
told her.
So if you were out there defending women, it's not Cole that you should be angry with. And by the way, it was very telling in their argument what Brennan was really upset about, because he told Cole, you called Zenab fat.
Well, I don't know what you're referring to, but okay, what I'm referring to is you telling Zay that she's either too fat or she eats too much.
Which is something that you know Alexa hates, because even though she's all like pretending, oh, I love my body, and she's, you know, rocking that dress, which by the way,
we all make choices, but that was a choice.
I'm not someone to get involved in someone else's relationship, but at the same time, I didn't respect the way that things went down. Things weren't handled appropriately. You telling Zay that she's either too fat.
Cole never did. We were all there at the reunion. Like, that cuties thing, he offered her a poke bowl, and she said, yeah, you did. So not only did he not call her fat, he was offering her food. But anyway, Zenab knows exactly what she's doing, because as a narcissist who employs her flying monkeys to do her dirty bidding, she knows exactly what to say to people to make him hate Cole. And she knows Alexa has a weight issue, meaning not that she's overweight, that she has an issue with her weight. And she knew exactly that if she told Alexa that Cole calls me fat, she's gonna make him hate Cole. And whatever Alexa hates, Brennan hates. So that line was very telling. You called her fat. No, he didn't call her fat.
Brennan has a bone to pick with me because of Alexa. I didn't do anything to Brennan.
But there was one point in After the Altar where Brennan was giving good advice, or rather making, you know, astute observations about someone's relationship, is when he pointed out that it's weird that Matt and Colleen aren't living together.
So it's been good. We're not living together yet.
Okay.
By choice, strictly. And I
If
agree
y'all
with that.
don't, if y'all don't want to live together, it's not.
Oh, no, hold on. No,
y'all know that it's not something I would do.
It's not that we don't want to live together. I don't want to get that narrative out there. It's not that we don't want to live together.
Well, you're not.
If we wanted to immediately move in with each other, I would have to break my lease, spend $5,000 just to break the lease, just to move in.
That's weird. But we're gonna get into that. Because all of these clowns are suffering from a delusional disorder, which apparently is a thing. By the way, after I watched the 3 episodes, I was like, there is a cloud, there's a fog of denial all over these 3 episodes. And I'm trying to think, like, is there a mental illness that is actually called delusional disorder? And there actually is. There's a doctor called Dr. Tracy Marks. She talks a lot about it. And it's not that, you know, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. It's not like, you know, I'm diagnosing people. But indeed, there is some kind of a delusion that is just permeating their brains, with the exception of Zenab, who is still a raging narcissist. But we're also going to get into that. And someone else who's an exception related to Zenab is Cole, who, for me, like, it's not that, like anyone on TV, he's messy. But at least he's the only one who's owning up to his mess. He's the only one who has a lick of self-awareness. Like, I saw an interview about After the Altar with Nancy, and she's not answering the clear question of why she's still lusting after Bartiz.
I think some people might be surprised when they watch After the Altar that you did maintain a friendship with Bartiz after that. And why did you want to maintain a friendship with him?
Yeah, that's a good question. After the wedding, I took some time to just focus on my heartbreak and really find a way to process everything that happened.
I took a moment to grieve, and I took this. Girl, no. But at least Cole has some awareness that he's crazy. And it's my favorite part is when he's like, do I attract drama? Of course.
Am I anticipating drama? 100%. I attract drama. I wake up in the morning and I manifest drama. It just comes to me.
Yeah, and watching these 3 episodes, you get the sense that all of them are kind of like, this delusion that they have is coming from them still living in the pods, in whatever they experienced in the pods. And I saw also one of the interviews to promote these After the Altar episodes that Raven did.
I am like, for the first time ever, I feel like super excited about dating. Like, it's so cheesy, but I feel like I can take everything I learned like from the pods about getting to know people and like actually apply it in the real world.
She's applying whatever she learned from the pods, or this idea of like getting to know someone's personality without judging their appearance. She's applying it in the real world. And I thought that's very interesting. And it also made me think that whether it's the pods or whether us, you know, meeting people on the apps, there's a certain like blindness before we meet someone where everybody puts their, you know, best foot forward and basically pretends there's something they're not. And then when you meet someone in person, that's when the real stuff starts. And my dear friend Anna Runkle from the Crappy Childhood Fairy also had told me something once when I did a chat with her about how to find the love of your life. And there was a bit where we talked about apps and dating.
Oh, and I remember we talked about this when we talked before too. If you're trying to meet your guy on an app, there's going to be a lot of fish in the sea there. And I wouldn't put too much meaning on any one of them not being the one. That's going to happen a lot. That's the trouble with apps. Anybody can pretend to be anybody they want, and you're going to have to do a lot of work to figure that out by meeting them in person.
Hey guys, I'm in denial, your favorite drag therapist. Yeah, so I watched the 3 episodes and I have to say they were a little bit of a letdown. And I mean, I was expecting to get into a lot of tea about Raven, but the takeaways for me was that Brennan basically is someone who is completely emasculated by his wife. Matt and Colleen, they're still trying to pretend like, yeah, they keep saying this thing like, oh, we married for a reason. Yeah, what is the reason, girl? For 3 episodes, they're just talking about, oh, we married each other for a reason, so we have to stay together. But we're gonna get into that. And Nancy, wow, Nancy.
Why are we matching?
I know, that's why we're wearing pink together. Look at that.
Oh my God. Hey.
Bartise is not into you, honey. Stop laughing. So watching these 3 episodes, the thing that stuck out the most is the delusion. This delusion that is covering everything. And before we get into the details, the sign that really stood out is how much alcohol they're taking in these episodes. Literally every 5 minutes.
Can we get mimosas?
Let's have a good time. Let's have a good time. 2 shots. 2 shots, brother.
Take the edge off.
Yeah, I know.
Delusion is basically a fixed false belief. And despite evidence against that belief, you still hold on to it. I'm looking at you, Nancy. Oh, I love your energy.
Your energy, like your level of positivity, like I like to be around you. Like I don't think anybody will ever understand that.
Anytime you hear someone says, oh, I'm in this relationship and I know everybody says it's up, but nobody understands. No. That's the first sign that you should run. If you hear yourself saying those words, nobody understands, nobody understands because, you're living in a delusion.
Are you gonna be nice?
I'm always nice.
Are you gonna be nice?
I'm nice as I can be.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was that scene where she's talking about she's hiding it from her family.
I keep a lot of my personal life to myself. I could talk to my mom every day and she won't know that I went on a date or that I saw Bartise.
And something her brother told her, who, by the way, is dropping some nuggets of wisdom when he was like,
you're trying to work on this so-called friendship with him, but at the end of the day, you're not finding the right one at this point because you're still holding on to some memories that you may never even tell us.
You're basically not opening your heart to anyone else. And something about Nancy's behavior is I think, relatable to a lot of us, is that because to start something new with someone, you're like, oh, damn, I can't go through with this humiliation and making them meet my family again. And Anna Runkle says something very nice about that.
Learning how to be comfortable after being hurt so many times, to let somebody in even closer, bringing them into your circle of friends and your family and all those places where it's going to be so humiliating if you get hurt again like you did before.
So delusions are part of many disorders, but sometimes they can be really severe and bizarre and almost accompanied with hallucinations, like in the case of someone who's schizophrenic. But in the case of a delusional disorder, this Dr. Stacey Marks, she says that basically delusions are things that are possible, yet they're false and there's evidence against them, but they're possible. And Nancy gets excited every time she hears the word, oh, possible. Maybe he's into me. No, he's not into you. And please, you have to listen to your brother because he really said some very wise things.
He has enough friends. There's no need for you to be sacrificing your peace.
Yeah.
You've tried, you gave it your all. Now, let that be someone else's problem.
But there was something funny in that scene that Nancy said to her mom. She's like, "Your delivery, mom." Like,
Your delivery, mom, like it's too much.
even though her mom is like being very fiercely protective of her and being this kind of like lioness looking out for her cubs, which I get, but her mom is like, she has no filter. She's immediately on the attack. And I love that moment when Nancy's like, "Mom."
You want to keep
Come
trying
on,
to be
let me
his friend.
finish. Chica, por favor, cálmate, sosiégate, nena, yeah.
But before we go on diagnosing, calling it delusional disorder or something, I don't think Nancy has like a personality disorder, because in the case of personality disorder, the delusions have to really bleed into all areas of your life where they're just getting in the way of functioning. And Nancy clearly is like, she's very good at her job, she runs a business, and so it's just this one area that where she seems to be stuck. But where it starts to be called a disorder, at least according to Dr. Tracy Marks, is when the delusion, persists for more than a month. And this has been going on for way longer than a month. This is at least a year after the altar.
Ooh, final scores is I've tried being your friend for a year.
And delusional disorder has types. Apparently one of them is called erotomanic, where you're just convinced that the other person is into you or is in love with you, and I think this is where the problem, not just with Nancy, actually, most of them, but it really comes out quite obvious with Nancy. I think she's completely still hooked on how good the sex was between her and Bartise. Because there was one point where she takes him aside to finally confront him after everybody, her friends and her family, tell her. And when they sit down, she's like, "Oh, you touched me."
The blonde's looking good.
Okay. Sorry, I think you're touching me.
Doing it too?
So I think what a lot of these people have is a great sexual connection or a chemistry or a click or a great night that they had, and they confuse it with love.
Well, you can do that, get your experience. And if that ends up being really painful for you or causing you to get bonded with people you don't actually want to be with, try it like your grandparents. Try it like they did it. They did it for different reasons.
Because without the sex, or if you hold off on the sex a little bit, you can see things clearly. And what's clear about Bartise is that he's not into Nancy.
No, I don't have any romantic feelings for her.
But he's leading her on and being intentionally vague. Like that scene where she took him aside and she's telling him about like, okay, what my friends and family are pointing out. He's like, "Oh no, they don't know what's in my head."
And you don't know what's going on in my head, you don't know what we went through, you don't know what we're trying to do, you don't know where we've been and what we can do.
Which clearly is implying that maybe there's something in my head towards you that they don't know about. That's telling her, that's kind of like hinting that you're into her, which is very different from what you told the boys, that you have no feelings for this woman. But thankfully, in the end, she finally listened to whether it's her gut or whether that's the advice of the other people, because I think she is an intelligent woman. Like, she has lived a life. Again, I keep going back to the work that she's done, because if you're out there in the world as a successful entrepreneur, you understand people. That takes some kind of interpersonal skills. And I think on some level she is intelligent, so hopefully this decision to kind of like not be friends with Bartise, because he was never your friend, honey, like I hope it sticks. But I have my doubts, because the way she was looking at him after she made the decision, like, okay, I want to be friends, she was kind of like looking at him for approval.
Doesn't make sense to keep going forward. I don't know what else to say.
But again, I go back to this. I get the fear that someone like Nancy would have. It's like, oh my God, I'm gonna put myself out there again. Like, oh, it's all gonna be the same. And Anna has a couple of words again.
And yes, bad actors are going to hit on you or something. We're not talking about that. You'll know it when you see it, because you're alert, because you're coming out of the fog of your own denial, of your own self-attack, of your own objectification of love, of people, and just allowing yourself to feel love rise up in your heart. You know it when you feel it. You're like, wait a second, something really important is happening here.
Now on to Matt and Colleen, who are living in a delusional disorder together. Woo! They're swimming in it. I don't know, these two. Because first, after the reunion was released, the internet was like kind of ablaze just with idea that he's abusing her. So I think they're kind of reacting to that by trying to prove to us that, she's her own woman and he's not controlling her, because they have the scene in the park. And I get what they did there. Like, they're surrounding us by cute dogs so that, maybe they're having a happy relationship. The dogs are cute, but what's going on between you two is not cute.
Jumping straight in to move in with each other, who knows how that would have worked, and we don't regret it at all.
Yeah.
And you can kind of piggyback on that if you want.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But they're trying to show us that, she's not under his control. So she's telling him, she's making fun of his little legs. And she's like, oh, a year ago, you would have gotten angry, but now you're not.
If I said to you, like, a year and a half ago, like, your little legs, you're like, oh, my little legs. Oh.
Cheers to growth.
Cheers to growth. Cheers to growth. Cheers to growth.
That's the kind of laugh you laugh before you go on a mass shooting spree. No, girl. But I think what they're both afraid of is to be alone. Because they both seem to be like, we did this for a reason.
Because we'd get in these fights, and I'd be like, well, he said yes to me for a reason.
We did say yes to each other for a reason, and we gotta fight through it.
Okay, what are our options here? Like, we could either leave, or we could, like, keep fighting for each other, and, like, there's a reason that we kept coming to each other.
They just can't let go of each other because it means that they failed But honey, sooner or later, you're gonna break up. In the Netherlands, we have this thing called LUT, which is living apart together. And I get that couples can live apart and still, be fulfilled by each other and happy. And it's a decision that you maybe come to a bit later. But to start your relationship from the very beginning with the decision of not wanting to live together and be gripped with so much fear, like they're both like, oh, this is what works for us. We're afraid that we're gonna, mess it up if we're together. Like, why are you so afraid? Kind of clear, honestly. You're afraid because you shouldn't be together. But the thing with denial and delusion is that sooner or later you're gonna come out of it. And for now, it's still, the truth comes out when they're both drinking. Because at the party, at Alexa's birthday party, when everyone was asking them when they're gonna have kids, she's like, no.
Absolutely not. We're both children.
And when Matt gets a couple of drinks in him, the jealousy comes out. And by the way, that's another type apparently of delusional disorder where you're completely fixated on the idea that your partner is cheating on you. And you can tell it's starting to seep through when he's creeping up on her. Like, what are you doing? He pops up like a garden gnome. Like,
What are you doing?
Just chilling.
What are you talking about?
Did you take a shot? I can tell in your eyes.
but this delusion that Matt and Colleen are living in is also supported by the family. It's almost like a mass delusion that they're all in. When it was the scene, I think, when they were sitting with his parents, and his parents were almost like coming up with reasons of why they should be together. Oh, and you've gone to all her ballet shows. Like they're trying to find reasons. Like, what?
I just appreciate him for not running and like sticking with it.
Him going to multiple ballets is not something he would have normally done.
Yeah.
That made me more confident, the fact that he was going to all your shows.
Yeah.
But the truth is, Colleen doesn't want to be with him.
We'll be cuddled up on the couch watching a movie or something. I'll be in her ear just kind of picking my nail like
And you
this.
poke and prod me. I hate
And
that too.
kind of poke her in the ear and stuff like that, and she hates it. Fun.
It's terrible. So really, you're the annoying one.
Yeah, I am pretty annoying. I
Yeah.
will say that. But it's fun. You love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awkward as hell. But again, just to give them some leeway, because I get why they're afraid. Because sometimes unconsciously we know the truth, but we still don't want to face it. So you're afraid. One of the reasons why they don't want to live together is this is what works for them, and they each want to work on themselves, and they want to heal, and then come together. But the truth is, when we're alone, it's so easy to act like you're healed or not be triggered because there's no one around to trigger you. The challenge is how can you be with someone and still handle those triggers in a healthy way? And yeah, it's jumping into the idea that someone's going to heal you is not good.
That said, though, I will say that this deep committed love is so healing. It's so healing. Like you're not supposed to say that. But sometimes, especially at the beginning, what that healing looks like is a lot of sort of crying and railing against life. Like, why is this so hard? And it's hard because it's the greatest accomplishment of all. That's what we're here to do, is learn to love one another.
And now on to Zenab and Cole. Girl, I think we were all looking forward to that one. And the second Zenab appeared on the screen and she talked about like she's in therapy, I was like, yes!
There is a man in my life. His name is Paul. Oh my God, breaking news! Paul is my therapist. It just felt like I've never had the male perspective on something. And I also just wanted to know if it was me. I wanted a male to call me out, be like, hey, it's you. You're actually seeing things.
But then...
I mean, I stand by my decision and I stand by everything I said.
And when I think of Zenab, I can't help but think of this one line that Dr. Frank Humans talked about. He's a doctor who specialized in narcissistic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder. And by the way, he's someone I'm gonna do a workshop with where I'm gonna play a patient with borderline, and they're gonna film it as kind of like a case study for training for psychiatrists. I hope they're gonna give me permission to use some of that footage and upload it on my channel because I'm so excited. I did the audition for this last week and I think it went well. We're gonna film it next month. But anyway, what he says is for a narcissist, reality is an aggression. Like the truth feels like an attack. And that's exactly what Zenab is like. Because when I don't know if we want to give her a break or we want to give all narcissists a break. When you think of a narcissist, you have to ask yourself, are they lying or are they living in a delusion? And I think it's probably the latter because narcissists really believe their lies because they need to, because it's almost like a protective shell around them. And when you observe someone like Zenab long enough, you're like, damn, she really believes her words. Like that scene when she was sitting with her friend getting ready for Alexa's party and she's talking about the green dress and how she wants to, show Cole what he missed out on. And she's really like in her mind thinking that she's gonna get him. Like she can say all she wants about she's not into him and she's over him, but
I'm full-blown panic attack. I'm gonna have to see Cole. I'm gonna have to look hot AF, LOL.
she's talking about, oh, the green dress, and I thought, it's such a nice poetic ending. When I first met him, I was in a green dress, and now I'm in a green dress. Girl, you're so into him.
I think I'm committed to the green.
The green is life.
The green I sent you. I just kind of like the full circle moment because at my reveal with Cole, I was in like hunter green, and this is just kind of like an elevated version of that. And I just think it has some kind of poetry to it.
And then she goes on this deluded tangent, which is completely supported by her friend.
Anyone that knows me knows that I don't do the back and forth with exes. I think what I'm scared of is seeing him and being yanked back to where I was.
You've grown so much since then. I think you're so strong. I don't think you will be.
Yeah.
You can recognize in Zenab's eyes where she's like,
yeah.
And you can see how her brain works when she finally sat with Cole, when Cole took her aside, when he was the bigger person who came over and apologized. I don't know why he's even apologizing, but he did, and he took her aside. And she starts the conversation he starts by telling her like, wow, that was harsh, what happened at the altar. She's like, didn't you see any of the positive things I said?
You had told me that you didn't want drama at our wedding.
Are you sure? Did you listen to any like the positive things I said though?
Yeah, and that's what was so confusing about it.
I don't think it was confusing. Like I literally was like,
If you basically eviscerate someone and call and just tell them they destroyed your life and they hurt you and they're nothing, then you say, oh, but you wore a nice vest. Like that doesn't work that way. It's like, oh, I balanced it out. Like I destroyed you in front of everybody, but I said some positive things. That's not how it works. It's not. The takeaway is that you humiliated him and walked away to a round of applause. And yeah, you told him you want nothing to do with him. So why is he to reach out to you? And the delusion that she's in that scene where she's like, I'm happy and healed. Girl, you wouldn't know what healed is if it hit you in the face.
leaving this experience, I've learned so much about myself. I am happy and I am healed.
But the thing is, she believes it. Or she needs to believe it to protect herself. But by the way, the tension, speaking of like what I mentioned about Nancy and Bartiz, that basically it's that sexual connection that brought them together. I think it's the same for Cole and Zenab, because at the end of the conversation, when they kind of both acknowledge, okay, this is, fucked up, and they apologize and ready to go back to the party, they have this moment of silence. They're looking at each other. Shall we fight? They say. It's like, I think you can easily replace shall we fight with shall we do it? Because you can feel there's a tension. And Zenab is like, the whole time, she's like, when she's drinking, she's like, oh, Cole, did you really think that? Oh, Cole. She wants him bad. And I think even at some point in that conversation, Cole is like, when we made love, it's like they're both talking about sex, like in subtext, like they want to do it. Because clearly that's because they have nothing in common. Like these two do not belong to each other. But there was one moment of truth that actually impressed me in that moment between Zenab and Cole, when she's like, basically told him, you didn't like me.
Forget that you didn't like the way I looked. You didn't like the person, like you were like, you have a bad attitude.
Fair.
You didn't like me enough to continue dating.
Yeah, you didn't want me. I'm not the woman for you. That's all you need to say. But then, yeah, I don't think she's ever gonna learn. And Cole, like, not to just let him completely off the hook, because he's also living in a little bit of a denial, because when he's not with her, or I don't think it's actually denial, because Cole is that kind of person where he just wants to make every encounter pleasant. Like, he's agreeable. He doesn't want things to be tense. So he's always trying to be nice to people, even if they're not nice to him. Because when he's not with her, he has very sharp observations. Like, the fact that Zenab just twists every word, or that, you can never win an argument with someone like her.
I need to be more careful with my words. It's hard to win when you're with someone who twists everything you say and you can't be yourself even whenever you're not trying to hurt them.
But that's the thing with Cole. He always wants things to be nice and pleasant when he meets someone. He's even trying to be nice to Alexa and Brennan, who clearly don't like him. Like, when he came to the party, first of all, why would you come to a party with someone who doesn't want to talk to you? I mean, it's clearly the producers wanted him there because that's the only drama that the fans of the show are waiting for. So they probably forced them to invite him. But he brings this bottle of wine to Alexa.
Hey, Alexa.
Hey, how are you?
Birthday.
Thank you.
I brought you wine.
Thank you.
So I know nothing about wine, but the guy told me it was good.
He has to put himself down by saying, I know nothing about wine, but this is what I got you. No. Pull it together, Cole. Also, he walks up to Brennan like, hey, man. Which I think is cute. He's like a little brother, like a little boy. He just wants approval. And then Brennan, can we get into Brennan and Alexa? Because those two, for me, the biggest takeaway about Alexa and Brennan is that, she keeps talking about what a wonderful relationship they have. Yeah, it's wonderful because he never disagrees with you. And as for him, I don't know whether he thinks because him and his family have less money than her family, or for some reason he thinks he's beneath her, so he has to agree. But that scene where her father was making fun of him in front of everybody, and he just like, he's waiting for the father to, kind of take it back or something. But
You want to be honest?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hate him.
Okay. Alexa's dad and my relationship, I don't know, it's weird.
I don't want to say vulgar.
And Alexa girl, no. She's always supporting the delusions of her friends, like at that gathering where the girls got together, by the way, to which they all arrived looking like drag queens. And no offense to drag queens, because I'm one, but like, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, honey. Why are you dressed in these like outfits? Doesn't make sense. But so they're sitting there and Alexa's supporting everything, like girl power, yes, and then when Colleen is talking about not wanting to live with Matt, yeah, I get it. No, Alexa, no.
I think that y'all made like a really good decision choosing to live separately and like have your separate lives,
If you're their friend, challenge them. Yeah, a little bit of a sidebar about Raven, because I thought we're coming into this, 3 episodes to get the tea on Raven and SK, but literally the first 2.5 episodes of the 3 were filmed before the cheating scandal was revealed online, so they're just preparing for the second proposal. And what an actor this SK is, because not only did he dump her at the altar the first time, this re-proposal, the second proposal, was happening while he's cheating. Like, this guy. And Raven is just like going with it. But by the way, how gorgeous is Raven? Like, her eyes, I know she accentuates it with the makeup. She does those kind of, my God, this girl is stunning. And when he, in that proposal scene, where you just see her legs, I'm like, oh my God, Raven. She's gorgeous. In my head, when I'm in drag, I look like that. But, I probably look like a truck driver in a dress. So in conclusion, I get why they're all living in delusion. Because we all, reality can be a bit much on all of us. So we do want, that partner who's a savior, who's perfect, and who's gonna take us out of the rut or save us out of our depression or whatever it may be. But in real life, it doesn't work that way. And I think Anna Runkle sums up an ideal relationship perfectly.
I put a picture of my wedding up on Facebook the other day. It's this picture where I'm hugging him right after the ceremony. And I have this look like I just landed on the sand on an island after being lost at sea. Just like, oh.
Beautiful.
And I couldn't put the picture up for 8 years because I used to be afraid it made me look desperate or like I expected too much from it. But that's exactly what it's been like. I finally have a home. I have a home, and I've had that feeling all my life. I want to go home.
How beautiful is that? Like, comment, and subscribe.